Hello everyone, this is Dr. Shiva Ayyadurai. I wanted to use this occasion on the set of events that's taking place in the news right now considering Elizabeth Warren and her DNA test to really discuss something really important for all of us. And it's a common principle, I think, that's not discussed enough. And if you don't understand this principle, it's a really easy way for those in power to mislead us. And it's a concept of a center. You know, there's always been this concept that there's a center to everything, that there's a center to the human cell, that there's a center to the universe, that there's a center to how innovation takes place or intelligence occurs. And one of the things I've learned from my work, you know, across all my studies, my 4 degrees at MIT, and my own independent research, is that there is no center. Now, I talk about this in my book, System and Revolution, but I wanted to really go through this. There's a chapter in the book, in fact, that's called Beyond the Center. If you ever get a chance to read the book, you'll see it right there. It's called Beyond the Center. And I wanted to talk to you about this in relation to the whole concept of the human cell and biology, because it turns out, if you look at nature as a very complex engineer, that over many, many billions of years or trillions of years, God knows exactly how old all of this is, nature has worked in a very profound way to actually figure out its own design rules. Everything we see around us comes from these design rules. Well, one of the design rules that we got mistaken was starting in the 50s, that there was this concept of the center in biology. Since we're talking about DNA, around the 50s is when the actual structure of DNA was found to be this double helix. But the notion became that you had the human cell. By the way, it has a cell wall, there's a cytoplasm, and then there's a nucleus. And that inside that nucleus was the genetic material called DNA, which that is where it exists. And as you know, if you go back to basic biology, DNA creates proteins. Those proteins then interact together to create all sorts of cellular machinery, which then gives rise to function. But one of the central misconceptions, which has only recently been thought of, was starting around 2003, was that DNA is central command and control, meaning that at the center is DNA, the center of your cell, your nucleus. It basically directs everything. That means if you have a particular a set of genes, for example, for having a particular disease, you're destined to have that. Well, that has been the central concept of biology up until 2003. When that all got flipped on its head. But the same concept has always been around in physics, right? That there's a center to the universe. We thought at that one time the center was the Earth and that everything revolved around us. We have this concept in many of the New Age spiritual teachings that we are the center and everything revolves around us. And I'm here to tell you that's actually not true. There is actually no center to, frankly, anything. In fact, all the interesting things actually occur on the edges. In fact, the latest stuff shows that on the edges of the universe is where information resides, and it gets converted through energy and manifested as matter, but the information is on the edges. So in 2003, going back to biology, one of the interesting things that occurred was that we found out that we have the same number of genes as a worm. We don't have 500,000 genes, we have around 20,000 genes. And that flipped biology on its head because we kept thinking we as a human being are so much more complex because of the number of parts or the number of genes. Turns out we have the same number of genes. So what that means is that the complexity doesn't come central command and control from the genes. In fact, it occurs in a very different way. The genes give rise to proteins. Those proteins interact. In fact, the most interesting things occur actually at the edges of the cell, called the cell membrane. That's where all sorts of interactions occur. If you take organizations, the old model of organizations was you had the CEO's office, the president and the CEO, and they tell everyone else what to do. Well, that too has changed, for example, with social media. The fascinating things occur at the edges, which means where, for example, the people at the customer service are interacting with customers, where communications takes place between clients and partners. And the edge is where new innovation comes from. That's where the real interesting things occur. So if you agree with that concept, we need to come back to what we've been all bamboozled to in governance. We've been all told that, at least in modern times, and I believe this was not what the goal of our founders were. The founders of America were very enlightened people, and they had this concept that there is something called a creator, and the goal was for each individual to, or government to not be the barrier, so we could each have a unique experience with our creator, be innovative, be creative, and be independent. That's why it's called the Declaration of Independence. It's not called the Declaration of the Republicans and the Declaration of Democrats. So we live at a time right now where Donald Trump's election has created massive chaos. And let's all be clear, Trump is not a Republican or a Democrat. And we don't want to be bamboozled again and to suddenly start supporting the establishment Republican Party, which frankly has always worked together with the Democratic Party. In Massachusetts, it's particularly clear there's one party, and you can see it in Ben Garrison's cartoon here. There's one party with two heads, one the donkey, one the elephant. And in Massachusetts, Elizabeth Warren is really running that party. And then she's got whoever else joins her. In our case, we have a guy called Dirty Deal, guy who photoshopped a picture with Trump, claims he's a Trump chair, a big liar. But it's always a centralized structure. And both of these parties in America, you're very mistaken if we think we have real freedom here. At least in China, they know they have a single party system. In America, we're brought up to believe that there's two really independent parties. They actually work together as one. And that's why it's really critical, this election cycle, particularly in Massachusetts, and why I'm running as an independent. We gave the corrupt GOP a chance. We dumped them because they had no interest in bringing in a qualified person like me, a guy who's got 4 degrees, who came from nothing, who's an embodiment of the American dream, and really represents you and everyone else. What they want is the same old, either a dirty deal or a fake Trumper or a fake Indian. They work together. And you can see this play out right now. They are trying to shove people down into this Democrat-Republican oligarchy, and they are literally kept me off the debate stage. All of you who are out there supporting us and helping us, we got on the debate stage. We got 20,000 signatures to get on the ballot. We are running as independents. America is a country of independence. You think independently, and now you must act independently. That's what this country is built on. In fact, in Massachusetts, nearly 60% of the people are registered independents. Only 40% are Democrat and Republican. So we have to get out of this mindset that just Trump has hijacked the Republican Party. We need to blindly support these guys. What we need to do is we have a historic opportunity following the Trump disruption to really start thinking for ourselves, because there is no center. There is no, Republican or GOP. They do not own you. They do not own us. So our election in Massachusetts is a significant one. We're not running under any party, Libertarian, Green. I'm running as me, Shiva, Ayyadurai, and you are you. So what I want to close with is really start thinking about this. We have a huge historic opportunity to really come out of our closets and really be truly independents. That's what this election is about. And just from a very natural concept, as I discuss here, there is no center. Nature never created centers. In fact, all the interesting stuff occurs at the edges, among the deplorables, among the riffraff. And the people in the center always want to keep the riffraff out, because that's where the truth is, that's where the reality is. And that's why we say only the real Indian can defeat the fake Indian, because the fake stuff is thinking there's a center, that we should vote for any of these parties. We need to start voting for the individual. So really, really think about this, and let us use this opportunity to grow and not go from one party to the other party, back to the other party. They have a recurrent cycle of bringing us and corralling us in. We don't need to do that. Remember, Declaration of Independence is what this country is founded on. Again, thank you very much. This is Shiva for Senate. Again, SHIVA4Senate.com. Anyone outside of Massachusetts, if you want one of our Road Warrior signs which says only the real Indian can defeat the fake Indian, email me at Shiva@ShivaForSenate.com. Just give a donation of $10. It's free otherwise, and we'll send it out to you. Anyone in mass, email us, and we'll get it to you for free, because we don't have to do shipping and handling. Thank you very much.